What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode on the channel. As always, I'm Jay, and today again I'm with my movie bros Ricardo and Steve. And today, guys, is a special treat because this is like the year of like 35 and 30-year anniversaries for movies. I'm finding that out the hard way because I didn't realize that this was happening, but I think that this is definitely a movie to talk about for sure. And that's the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie from 1990. I don't know. It's just insane because, you know, when this thing was created, and I'm sure we like you guys know already, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like not like this at all. Because like I grew up watching the cartoons from the 80s, the reruns and stuff, and then but before that, it was like a really harsh and dark comic book, ironically inspired by another show that we're going to be covering at some point,
Hmm.
Daredevil. Well, comic wise, because like one day Eastman and Laird, they're just chilling out. They were like, working together. They're both artist writers, as it were. And I guess they just felt compelled after reading Daredevil to just go off on a tangent. So instead of the hand, it was a secret society known as the Foot. You know, one day, I think it was Kevin Eastman, who was just like sketching out like this random like is it anthropomorphic or but
Yeah,
basically
that's correct. Yeah.
right, it's like it was a turtle, but it had like the little turtle like arms and stuff, but it was standing, it had a bandana, and it had like a couple like ninja weapons and stuff. And I'm just like looking back on this, I'm like, this is what got us to where we are with this stuff now. That's pretty incredible. And then you
Mhm.
got things like their mentor being Splinter instead of Stick, and then you got the fact that they're all four of them are named after Renaissance artists, which is ironic and stuff. And just again, just where they took it, just like because they were just going to do it as a limited series, they didn't think anything of it, and then it blew up into this mania. And like TMNT was literally like the precursor to Power Rangers, and I'm sure other things preceded that and so on. But I felt like that was kind of the closest thing to like teenage, colorful, like awesome ninja action heroes and stuff like that before like the boom of Power Rangers and stuff, like I said. And it's funny because this movie came about that popularity. And it's kind of funny because overall, you're watching the movie and you're kind of getting that dark comic vibe of like some of the old school like comics that were there, but also you're getting that kind of fun, chill humor. And this is like an independent movie from back in the day with amazing effects, practical and otherwise,
Mm.
prosthetics, suits, puppeteering, you name it, because the Jim Henson Company, oh my God, had like their hand in up in this, and it was
Literally.
amazing. Like for real. See what I did there? And then just the casting choices and the suit actors, and it was a start for a bunch of people, even behind the scenes. Ironically, he was in the second one as Kino. Ernie Reyes Jr. as Michelangelo's suit actor.
Was it
Actually, was it
Leonardo? It
Michelangelo?
was
No,
Leonardo.
Leonardo. Yeah.
Yep.
So, see, I get them all mixed up. The suit actor for Michelangelo was the guy who ends up delivering the pizza to Michelangelo,
Yes.
ironically enough.
Yep.
And but man, this movie's just got like so many good memories for me, man. Watching this when I was a kid, popping in the VHS and seeing that Pizza Hut commercial with the little kid, he's like,
And a baseball falls into my glove. I play right field. It's important you know.
I was more of a fan of two because I wore that one out a lot more, and I think I watched two and three more than the first one, just
I'm
probably
sorry for
because
that.
well, I mean, you're when again in my kid mind, I also thought that Batman Forever and Batman when Robin were better just because they were the third and fourth movies, not realizing that that's not how it actually works. Like my mind was just predetermined to think that. But also, I think it's probably because of the dark edge on this. Plus, I mean, if you look at this, I mean, not to say this and just be like I said, I get a little weird with some of these takes here, but this is like a Snyderverse equivalent. But back then, I feel like if this
Oh, for
came out
sure.
now, people would
100%.
have been like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is too dark. Oh, this is ridiculous. This is not what TMNT. This is not my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." Like, if the internet was out back then, this is not the kid friendly one that we wanted.
Well, they even said that this film got like panned for its hyper violence. It's like this is a very tame movie, and then you got to remember that sensibility of the late '80s and early '90s where they were vastly different than they are now. I mean,
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
mean,
but I
plus
mean,
plus also too, you got to realize like the cartoon, obviously that was for kids, and how like light and bright, even the colors of the bandanas, the colors of the turtles, obviously from this to that, it looks completely different. And
Hmm.
obviously back in that time, this isn't my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like now we kind of grown accustomed to it. And now this is kind of like the precedent and the foundation of, if we want to do real life Ninja Turtles, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how the city of New York is supposed to be. I mean, it,
100%.
it makes sense, especially if you're doing a live action movie. You want to make it feel like New York, and New York is like a
Yeah.
grungy, no offense to any New Yorkers though,
No,
grungy,
no,
dirty city.
it's
You
got
know?
All right.
character. No, we say today the term is
Character. There
it's
you go.
got character. Exactly,
Yeah,
it's
there you
got
go. There you go.
character, and this has like oodles of character. But it just goes to show too. Even the way that they executed this, it was a happy medium between that a lighter side and that kind of like that little bit of a darker edge because there's plenty of brevity like or levity in this and stuff and a lot of breathing room from like the drama and stuff and they do it so well and this like for the longest time I thought I remember hearing that this was actually the highest grossing independent like superhero movie or
Hmm.
like comic movie and deservedly so. I mean, it was well executed on all those fronts. And the thing is like we just talked about, the violence was being marked as something that was like, oh, this is not for kids. It's like, dude, if the worst you got is like someone with like getting knocked around and they like tweet 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 like noise or whatever, or getting hit in the face with like a cricket bat or whatever, and you're not bleeding. Although I heard apparently when Raphael yells "damn," that scared some kids. That scared
I
kids,
mean, that's
not
like
the
a headphone
shredder.
warning. Let's
Yeah,
be.
What do you think? The
And
funny
damn
thing
was
about
like a
that,
swear back then.
right? The
Like
it
funny
that.
thing
really
Yeah.
about that
was.
though is that like I remember when I could have been like in elementary school, and I remember my friend's mom said we can watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but we had to basically skip over the damn part, which I obviously now kids would be like, "Are you serious?" But like back
Wild.
then, like
I hear
you know,
kids that are like straight out the cradle talking f
yeah,
this and f that. Man, that's like, well, that's
yeah,
sad,
it's
but
different
it's
now.
true.
But back then, it's like you can't you gotta skip over that part. You can watch the rest of the movie. Other than that,
Even on the rooftop, you had to skip when he's like, damn.
Yep, yep.
After he fights with Leo.
Exactly. It's just like so many like random like damn, 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 damn. Could probably do a supercut with all the times he said damn from this movie.
Honestly.
Um, but but yeah, no, and the violence in this is what got the next movies kind of neutered a little bit more, which is why in the beginning they're not fighting with their weapons, they're fighting with combat cold cuts, as Mikey said. And then you get Donatello kind of just doing the and then going like
Little
this and getting
foam
like
bat.
a rubber
Yeah.
foam bat. Listen, I don't care. I love the way that Donatello is in the second movie and stuff. And no offense to Corey Feldman, I thought that the second movie's Donnie was a little bit funnier and better to me personally.
Mm.
But I don't know. I don't know. And speaking of casts that were later replaced, I mean, Judith Hogue, like for the longest time after she did this, she's like, I don't want to do the next one. I don't want to do this one. But now look at her. She's eating it all up. She's going to conventions and stuff because she gets it
Yep.
now. She gets
Oh,
it and she
I
kills it.
actually heard. I don't know if you guys heard this, but they were talking about obviously. I think they greenlit Ronan, and they're
Oh, that's
talking
right.
about
Yep.
They want her to
bringing
be,
back
yeah, April. Yeah.
to be in Ronan.
Yeah.
So
That'd be sick.
which is
Honestly.
Yeah.
kinda cool.
Tie it back
I,
together, you know?
hey man, that's and the thing is like it's what's old is new again, and the passage of time is appropriate for it too. So and hey, I mean, if she's not doing anything and she's campaigning for it, give it up, man. Let's go. And nothing can be worse than the way that they massacred my boys in the Bay Turtles. And I always have a problem with how they did that. And it's not necessarily about how big they are, how powerful they are, the CGI, whatever it is. I think the most egregious thing that they did for me personally was they had them learn
And Megan Fox is
ninjutsu.
April. Sorry.
No, no, no. I know
just-
that's part of the top 5 reasons, but the number one reason for me is that they learned karate from a fucking book in the sewers. No, no, damn it. I will not stand for this tomfoolery. Splinter learned the martial arts from watching his master,
I mean, it's
mimicking
kind of
his
the same thing when you really look at it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Damn it. plus this origin's a lot better. It's the Uber origin for me because you know he cuts Oroku Saki, and then the whole connection and everything like that is just perfect. And just the way that they play it in this movie, though, is like it's obviously we watched it and we rewatched it, but like when you're first watching it, that revelation of like that mark on your headband. I know that mark I have not seen for a long time, and I'm
We're
just
gonna
like,
get canceled for all the mimicking of the voice acting in
oh
this
well.
movie.
Well, the worst one, like we were talking about off camera, was Miss O'Neill. I have something for you.
Your mouth may yet bring you much trouble, Miss O'Neill. I deliver a message. Shut it.
But amongst that, then you get like the cursed images that have come out of like the stills of when the guy's laughing in the turtle suit. And it's just like that mouth that you see there. That guy probably messed up a mask, and they probably had to just deal with it. Even like the suit actors did have cameos in this movie too, or the voice actors too.
Yep.
Like we said, the Domino's guy, which I thought this bit was hilarious. Well, dude's 3 minutes late. He's not getting.
Come on, give me a break.
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
I gotta get a new route.
Oh man!
And Raphael's voice actor was in the cab.
Yes.
Ironically, watching Raphael roll over the cab.
Yep.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
You're going to LaGuardia, right?
Yeah.
It's like shit happens, man.
One of the actors was the ninja. I think you referenced this already. That slaps April.
Yeah. That was too. Actually no. Wait a minute. Which one?
It was one
that?
of the stunt actors. It wasn't like the voice actor. I think. Oh, maybe it was a voice
get
actor.
Out of here.
I forget. Yeah.
Well, they had to double up, when they weren't in costumes. I'm sure, which saved money too. And plus, they were probably coordinating the stunts, right? So, that was awesome. I loved Elias Koteas as Casey Jones. I thought he was awesome. And that was another funny thing. His mask is fucking awesome, but apparently that scared kids. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? Which is, again, probably why he came back in the third one. That mask wasn't as cool as this one. And I'm kind of upset because I don't think I bought one of the replicas that was out from NECA recently. So I'm going to have to hunt that down for sure.
eBay.
But yeah, well, eBay, right?
Yeah.
But man, this movie is like I was obviously a fan of the Turtles when in '87 the cartoon was out. I was kind of old, admittedly, to like that. I was like what 17.
Hey, man, there was
no,
a stigma
I was
back then.
15 when the movie came out.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, something like that. And
are you still up in there? Because 1990. I mean, we kind of discussed the PG-13 transition, but I think like this was still a hard PG. Like it could have easily been like if there was like a drop more of blood, it would have been in PG-13, I think, but it was still good.
But no, like you mentioned earlier, the combination of the dark comic origin and then like obviously the cartoon was really popular, so it had that humor and the colored headband as Ricardo mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
just to, kind of tied everything together. But like even the casting of Judith Hogue and Casey, like it was like straight off the page. And I had the comics like the first. I kick myself now. I don't have them anymore.
Man. So you had the original printings for the Mirage friends, huh?
Yep. I beat the hell out of them because I was looking at. I tried to draw them all the time and stuff. Yep. And no, it was cool. Like that, it was like it's kind of like what we have now, where superhero movies are kind of more comic accurate and kind of all the source material, and that's exactly what this movie was. And obviously Jim Henson's Creature Shop killed it with this movie. Like it was so realistic looking, minus the seeing the double mouths, but notwithstanding. But no, like just
but like for real though, like Splinters, that was all puppet animatronic stuff. Like that was like so good. Like I think that alone is they could rest on their laurels with how well they did it. And they weren't new to this. They did all the shows back then with the Muppets and whatnot. They did Labyrinth too and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like
Dark Crystal,
So they were no strangers, but this was like such new territory. But also was the merging of the animatronics onto the suit too. And listen, I could not tell a bad dub when they were flapping the mouths and everything, and just the expressiveness of the eyes and the face and everything 100%. With the turtles. Yeah. So you were 100% right on that. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry to
no, it's all right.
But no,
like this, like they obviously it pulls heavily from the first issue, a lot of the story, and like going to the farmhouse and the the antique shop, and she's not a reporter in the comic, but
Get out of here.
yeah, she's like a scientist or something, like a lab tech or something.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh.
So the reporter thing is the TV show. So again, merging the things together.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but she had like crazy frizzy hair, and Judith Hogue kind of has that same idea, and who's actually brunette. April in the comic.
Yeah.
Well, pretty cool.
Hey man.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I didn't even realize that she wasn't a reporter in the first few issues too, because that's the thing too, is like I like literally like 5-6 years ago is when I found out that they did all had the same color bandana in the comics.
All red.
It was supposed to be all red. That way they were all uniform, and I'm kind of glad that they changed up the colors and the personalities, you know, because it's like if you're watching and you're seeing them drawn and they all have the same like color bandana, that's gonna get pretty. Plus, I mean, from a standpoint of like, you know, marketing and money making and toy making machines, as we tend to be, you know, as they tend to be and stuff, depending on the property, that was a smart move for them, because like they could just like, you know, pass off like these other ones with a little bit more color. It's like, oh, you can't just have the one, you got to get the blue one, and then you got to get the orange one. Oh, now you got to get the purple one. Oh, you got to get Splinter now. So
but they kind of had the personalities too in the comic, but obviously they're, you know, more cartoony in this version, and obviously in the cartoon. But
so in the comic, were they more kind of like stoic? Like
not really. No, there was humor sprinkled in. It's very similar to the movie. This movie, honestly, like it's obviously a little more in the movie, but same idea, but very serious at the same time, and dealing with very wacky, you know, the Dimension X stuff and all that stuff. But
everything was pretty grounded for that first series run, right? And then they killed off. Spoiler: they killed off Shredder.
They did kill off Shredder.
This. And then that's when they did like all the cloning and then all the Dimension X stuff. That's another thing too. That's like pretty dark shit. It's like, dude, you literally just freaking caved in his whole head. You just killed him with a trash compactor, dude. And speaking of which, the Tatsu is my dude. I love Tatsu. He's just so like.
He's like, yeah, he was awesome. Yeah, he was good.
Never take your eyes off your opponents. Love Tatsu. And then he gets so pissed whenever like Shredder reams his ass out. It's like
he didn't even say shit to him. He just looks at him like in a disapproving look. Beating up all the kids. Like, wow, you're a tough guy.
Taking down the freaking weight racks and stuff. Yeah. And Master Tatsu, no.
Yep. Back fist.
But and then it was kind of like, it was interesting how it opened up too, because it doesn't open right up on the Turtles either. It opens like with the crime wave that's happening in New York, which I thought, like, hey, that's a great entry, because we're setting the tone, seeing how it is, and they did some nice trickery moving in the camera while the van was getting robbed, moving it back out when it's completely empty. You know, TV's on the stoop, and then the woman goes in, and she comes back out, and the TV's stolen. It's like, dude, right there. And then we're seeing some famous Oscar-worthy actors getting their start. Sam Rockwell.
Yeah. Anything you want to do it. You got any cigarettes? Regular or menthol?
Okay, this is like Peter Pan, Lost Boys meets
100%.
the freaking island of Pinocchio, where they're just smoking and doing whatever the hell they want and turning.
Speaking of that little kid smoking the stogie, brother,
crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Even when I watched, it, like, damn, that's kind of rough.
Like, damn, boy, you're gonna have some black lung, one puff. But no, it was such a trip to, and then even hearing the soundtrack, like that one song when you're seeing the kids skateboarding and stuff indoors and playing the games. It's the MC
Which
Hammer
one was
on the do. This is how we do. That one, that was like the best track out of it all. And
not spin that wheel. Spin that wheel.
Speaking of which, what do we think about TMNT Turtle Power?
It's corny as hell, but it's classic. Like
it's classic. Yeah, it's classic. Yeah. But it's super corny.
Listen, again, for a first movie, I can give it a pass. Time period, I can give it a pass. But when we get to the second movie, Ninja Rap is where it's at for me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. It's just as corny as Ninja Rap, but for some strange reason, Ninja Rap outranks it.
Well, first of all, you got Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice at that. Vanilla Ice is at his prime.
At his peak.
Yep. That year.
Probably right before he got dangled out the window by Suge Knight and company.
Oh god.
But this one, had a lot of that awesome stuff in it though. Looking back, I do prefer this one, as it tends to be, because it was truer to the spirit of what it was. In a nice balance of like where it had been originally and where it came from at that point, which was the cartoons and everything. Again, how April reacts to waking up and seeing the turtles, and then she sees Splinter.
Hi.
I remember you. I saw you at the news station. That's why I'm
That
dreaming.
explains you, but how do I explain you guys?
It's like, but oh man, and again, just the way that Casey and Raph like fought. A cricket? You gotta know what a crumpet is.
Crumpet is
cricket.
before you know cricket.
Yeah.
Or even Casey and Donatello with the friggin' hey gag face and all that little name calling. They were going through the alphabet.
Zipneck, Professor and Marianne, happily ever after.
No way, Atomic Mouth. Gilligan was her main man. They'd be married and have 6 kids by now.
Gilligan was a geek, Bufferoni.
You're the geek, Camel Breath.
With dome head.
Elf lips.
Let me stop here since we're talking about the farm. Like, this is where the movie has a lot of heart. And it's weird that this corny, obviously made for kids movie, it's kind of sad. Like when Raph wakes up and Leonardo is like, just at his side night and day, waiting for him to wake up. And it's kind of cool. Like the brotherhood they have and like the campfire scene and with Splinter, that was really emotional.
That's the thing too. This was an indie movie, but it melded a little bit of mysticism and all these other things. And I mean, I'm sorry, when you're a kid watching the turtles cry when that's happening, I'm like,
yeah, you feel bad.
Yeah, for real.
It's like, damn, man. Funny thing though, I think that the farm stuff was actually added after the fact, because I don't know where I read this, and tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys, but I heard that they had planned on killing off Splinter.
I think I remember a story about where they had an additional fight scene where they were fighting each other, like arguing or something. Actually, no, I remember now. It was Michelangelo. He was like really messed up by the events of what happened. Maybe to your point about Splinter dying, and he was just like being really violent and stuff like that. And obviously they cut that, but
yes, exactly.
You're right.
So, but that was something that blew my mind too. I'm like, this it works so seamlessly, but you hear about reshoots and how dead on like obvious it is that they added stuff or reshot stuff, and I'm like, well, this doesn't skip any beats, man. Like I would have never guessed until I heard about like the documentary, because I think I got it from the documentary that they had done a while back. And I think it was on YouTube. I watched it where they talked about the creation of TMNT and then the movies and whatnot. But yeah, so funny thing, Splinter is also Elmo, same guy.
Is it really?
Yeah, the guy who puppeteers and plays Elmo is Splinter in the first 2 movies, and that's like one of the most insane things that I can't wrap my head around.
That is
also
very weird.
Also, like we said, Corey Feldman was Donatello. I forget his name, but the actor who was Leonardo, he's an Asian actor who has been in a lot of different stuff. He was in Police Academy, one of the police academies, and a couple other odd and 80s movies. The fifth one, the Miami one, I think. And he was in he did some voice work in like the Dexter's Lab with the Big Mech episode, I think too.
Brian Tochi is Leonardo.
There you go. And then Robbie Rist, literally the best Michelangelo. I don't care. Anyone tells me otherwise, you're wrong.
I don't know, Robbie man. The cartoon voice is like it's like Mark Hamill's the Joker. Like that version of Michelangelo's voice is that guy. Yeah, man.
Nah, well, I don't
just
know.
like what's his face, Rob something or other,
Paulson.
that was the original Donatello. Paulson.
Yeah,
it's Donatello. When he's Raphael in the newer cartoons, I'm like, doesn't sound right.
No, see, for me, he's always going to be a Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. Narf.
Yep.
But no, you do have a point. He was good too. But for me, Robbie Rist is my Michelangelo. Totally, dude.
Yeah,
he's just got that surfer, I mean, they kind of did have that in the cartoons, but I just feel like Robbie Rist just amped it up to 11.
Was he in the third one?
Oh yeah, Robbie Rist was in all of them.
Yeah.
Was he?
He was kind of like the main like throughout the whole movie. He was like the most consistent.
Yeah, I think him and Leonardo's actor were in all three of the ones. But
Was he in
then
other cartoons? Leonardo's voice actor. His voice is
yeah,
so
I
like familiar.
I
I could
feel I
look.
want to say that he was. Yeah, if you look up really quick, I'm sure you'll find a lot of cartoons from him
Oh my
from his end.
God, he was in Revenge of the Nerds.
He was.
He was
I thought that was the Donger.
no, that's you're thinking of 16 Candles.
Well, I know, but I thought that that actor was in that too. Oh, so he was in Revenge of the Nerds. No shit. Get out of here.
That's wild.
That's insane. That's crazy. Canceled.
Canceled. Yeah.
You're gonna have to make a cancel meter and put your face on it, Steve. Canceled.
Not me. Why me? Don't cancel me.
Because you're the one that's saying canceled. You every time something
True.
happens, we'll put like canceled. We're gonna have to get that sound clip in there.
You nailed it. Police Academy 3 back in training. He was in there as well.
Nice, 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 nice. Okay, Shredder. Love the Shredder in this. The Shredder is like
Oh,
so imposing.
The Shredder's costume's dope.
Every time the Shredder comes on the scene,
Even though he has a red blouse, it's okay.
The atmosphere changes. There's a little bit of glitter going on, but hey, we'll forgive you. You can cut us up pretty badly. What is it? What did he say when Shredder jumped down on the rooftop? What did Michelangelo say?
Anybody have any idea about who or what this is? I don't know, but I'll bet I never asked to look for a can opener.
You fight very well in the old style. And then I'm like, is this like a clip that can be done into like a Wu-Tang? In the old style. he
that scene
lived. Yeah.
That fight scene at the end is so good. I'm sorry.
It is. It's pretty good. It's very subtle, but it's very good. You can tell he could just mop the floor with all of them.
Yep.
And then he's just trying to goad them and get into their heads, like
just his nonchalant pacing while he's waiting for each one to take their turn against him. It's so good.
And they're doing doing the huddle like,
what point did we lose control here?
Maybe somebody ought to tell him that we're the good guys.
Yeah.
But and then the revelation after he comes, we meet again, Orokusaki.
Yeah.
Just like the drama.
I'll finish what I started with. I began with your ear.
And then he just goes like this with a quick little flip of the wrist with the nunchuck.
Tell me this little anorexic rat can hold him up. Come on now.
This little anorexic rat. Yes. For real though, the dude's literally like, I don't know. He's a toothpick. How the hell is he going to do all this stuff? But yeah, so many cool things. And again, we rehashed the humor and the fighting. Tell me that the fight at April's apartment wasn't intense. That was like gangbusters, man. And then they're chopping the floor.
And then they fall into the.
I don't think that you guys understand that if you jump down here, the voice.
And he's like rubbing his head and stuff. Like, what are you, the Three Stooges? What's going on over there?
Right. I love another one of my favorite bits was like, fellow chucker, and then like doing all the, and then all of a sudden he's like,
and he's like in the middle, he's like,
We've had this discussion. We're kind of on the same page here. All the makeup effects, all the things go a very long way to making something very timeless. And I don't care if you're going to watch this 20 years from now or when it was back in 1990, it's still awesome. It's still mind blowing. And I mean, the 3D, it's easier to do 3D, I guess, sometimes, but it's like, dude, just take a little bit extra in the budget, get some really cool Creature Workshop people to do stuff, and just bring it back to the basics, man. Just have them do stuff like this. And at this point, they've perfected it so damn much that they can literally program the stuff to work probably and integrate and read the face in real time and stuff too.
Right.
All the mocap and stuff technology, all they got to do is just kind of tweak it just a little bit, and then they've got it where it can respond in real time like it's a real second skin or whatever. Like
a VTuber.
Yeah, right.
I was kind of going through like the IMDb like trivia stuff, and I kind of
same.
One thing I kind of liked was they talked about how each weapon is basically it's
like to their personality, whatever they have to work on, right?
Their personality, like their weaknesses, which was kind of cool. I mean, I didn't really like look into it. I mean, Leonardo was always my favorite turtle out of all of them. but just like knowing that like the katana was like a weakness that he has for his personality. Same thing too with like Donnie having the just having like the stick where he's like a creative, brilliant guy, but he's like, you have a stick that's just
Simplicity.
simplicity. Yeah. So it's like I like the fact that like they kind of I'm not sure if that's in the comics. I'm not too familiar with the comics to
Yep.
be honest. I read them, but
Yeah.
having
So
that like, you know, in like a movie like this for kids, I mean, that's kind of cool.
Leonardo is the most ethical and heroic of the turtles. He wields katanas, the only bladed weapon of the four, and the most lethal by default. This is to teach him that ultimately, despite all his ideals, he may be forced to take lives to protect people. Pretty, pretty awesome, really. I'm glad you brought that up. And
Yeah.
then you mentioned Donatello being the most intelligent, having to use a simple bow staff to teach him creativity and making do what he has. Raphael being the most hot-headed and violent. He wields size, traditionally a defensive weapon, which is kind of counter to, like you said, to what his personality is. And then Mikey being the most scatterbrained, he wields the nunchucks, a weapon that's infamous for its complexity and ease of injuring the user. So that's pretty interesting point. I never really thought of that, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff.
I mean, I didn't think of it either. So I saw it on
You read it?
Yeah, it's one of those things that you read and then you forget, and you're like, wait a minute, I remember this now, and that makes perfect sense or whatever it is. I will say for this though too, the story overall was actually like very meaningful and kind of very interesting because we follow, and I forget what his name is, the kid's name, but basically kind of
Danny.
Danny, yep. So we're following everything kind of going through all that stuff, and we're just seeing like how basically a nature versus nurture type of thing. Like if you're not taking care of your kid, I mean, who else is going to take care of them? All these people. But the thing is that when he's introduced to the turtles and April and stuff and company kind of take him in and kind of like interact with him, he kind of sees the shitty reality that these people are not your family. I am your father
now.
Yeah. And then it's like, no, not really. And then it's like, again, this ties back to the awesomeness of Shredder, just him being so menacing. Like, you lie, and you are hiding something. And then he's like, just scans down, and I'm like, and by the way, whoever did the sketches for that, was it Eastman and Laird or whoever did that for doubling for her little artistic skills was pretty awesome too. Just saying. So like you guys were saying, gentlemen, now you got me curious. So now I've pulled up IMDb on the web myself while we're doing this. So this was an interesting tidbit that we were kind of talking a little bit about, but we weren't talking about rather. But Robin Williams apparently being a fan and a friend of Judith Hoag. When she got the role, she had, I guess, given her some ideas about who April O'Neil was and stuff. That's interesting. Kind of like what I mentioned before, the highest grossing independent film. This was the highest grossing independent film until the Blair Witch Project in 1999. It had like a nice, and this is staggering for back then because it was probably like 1 to 2 million or a few million at the budget wise.
It was 13 actually. I watched it. I watched a retrospective. Yeah.
Oh shit!
So they made a boatload of money on this.
Oh yes, so 135 million domestic and 66 million foreign. And I wonder if the foreign was probably, it didn't open up a lot of spots, and back then it was a lot harder to get movies into different markets and stuff too, which makes perfect sense.
Quick edits on this movie. Do you know what the other name of the turtles was in the UK?
Oh, it wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was Teenage Hero. No, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Yeah, because Ninja was bad, right?
It was a violent connotation of the and also the nunchucks were edited out of the movie.
What?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yep.
That's a crime against humanity.
And again, I'm kind of cheating because I watched a retrospective just to refresh my memory. And apparently in Germany, the German release of the film, they had like cartoony sound effects when like they jumped through the windows or hit people. And like, dude,
boing,
so
boing.
Honestly, yeah, exactly.
Some type of variety show stuff. Vaudeville humor.
This is an interesting fact. I heard this at the retrospective.
Yeah.
To help disguise how cumbersome and heavy the costumes were, they actually filmed the action scenes at 23 frames per second.
Mhm.
So that way, when they put it at the full 24 frames, it looked less cumbersome for them when they were performing the stunts.
Makes
I thought
sense.
that was
Makes
pretty
sense.
interesting. Oh, sorry.
Makes
Same
most
reason.
sense.
Fight scenes are 22 or 23
Hmm.
frames
Well,
per
it does
second.
make sense because it is tough, but and I'm looking at that factoid too. So
Yeah,
they had to do the dialogue and the fight scenes at a well, a slower frame rate to kind of get it
correct.
like fleshed out, and then they
Yep.
sped it up to the proper frame rate. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But that worked though because it looked seamless and it worked out good with
If you
timing and
notice in the
stuff.
action scenes, they don't move their mouths because it made it easier for them to move around with the lighter suits.
Yep.
They don't have the
Yep.
servos and stuff in the head. So
Oh,
I didn't really
100%. I
realize
mean,
that until they said that. I'm like, oh, that's true.
yeah, that makes perfect sense too. Because I mean, if you're unless you're having like a really emotional driven scene, you're not going to have those, and it's going to be close up anyway. So there's literally probably a
Right.
dude, or even if it was just a puppet or whatever, even sometimes. But unless it was just so they probably had masked with servos. And again, I can't remember this. I did watch some documentaries, but maybe it's just my my subliminal memory or whatever, my whatever you want to call it, my dormant memories. But they probably had ones with servos, ones where the mouth would open, and then nothing else. Ones where it was fighting, so the mouths wouldn't open, and the eyes were kind of probably a little bit more open, so that they could see through, or the holes rather, and whatnot. So yeah, I'm sure they were going through that. Plus, I mean, they were the people in those suits had like the worst time because they damn near almost passed out and stuff. I remember seeing the behind the scenes pictures of like Ernie Reyes Jr. and like all the other guys like all sweaty with the mask stuff, and they just like about to pass out.
Yep.
So kudos to them, man. They had to have like real good conditioning.
This is yeah, totally crazy. So when Raph gets kicked into the trash can by Casey during that fight in the park, apparently the face and animatronics inside the head caved in and broke the stuntman's nose. It says as Raph gets up from the trash can, he can be seen grabbing his nose area before the shot cuts. Poor guy, they kept the shot in.
Wow.
That's awful.
What was it? Well, that's kind of like they kept that shot of Michael B. Jordan getting knocked out in the first Creed, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they kept that in there. Yeah.
Right. And
Have you
then
seen like the B-roll of that?
so yeah, he was like trying to like they were doing a couple practice, and he was like rolling, and then all of a sudden, bah! And he's like,
He drops.
"Yep." What about even more recently in Mission Impossible Fallout when what's his face broke his leg clearing the
Like
buildings? Tom
Tom Cruise.
Cruise.
Yeah, he broke his ankle.
Yep.
Broke his
You could.
ankle trying
Oh
to, and they
shoot.
kept that shot in. They kept that shot in the
Mhm.
final cut.
Yep.
Well, let's do this to close out. Let's
Yeah.
start with Ricardo. What's your favorite scene in the movie? I think that'll be a fun thing to talk about.
I wouldn't say favorite scene. It's more, to be honest, it's actually kind of like more like Raphael's kind of journey
Yep.
throughout the movie, and him wanting to be out and kind of be among the people. Um, I feel like it was like his story was like the most interesting, even though Leonardo is my favorite
Yeah,
turtle.
yeah, yeah.
Like Raphael's story, his arc and everything.
Mhm.
Wanting to be out and about and being, in New York and being part of the city. I think like, I felt like that kind of attached to me a lot more compared to anything else
Mm.
in the film.
So I mean I don't really have a solid specific scene per se, but just like I don't know, I didn't like the balance of the humor and the heart of this whole thing was like really the biggest takeaway of rewatching it, because you get the scenes where they're saving April, it's dark, and then they slip away and stuff like that. Then they go right down into the sewers. Were you seen? No, Master Splinter, we were not seen, and whatever. And then they end up talking about you must be quiet, and and then you hear Mikey in the background, and there better not be any, and you better not be. And it's like
And any
Michelangelo.
anchovies in my pizza.
Exactly. And then just again, just having kind of like those really fun action moments, and then the story beats and whatnot that we had, and kind of like really, you know, again, it just came really well together. And again,
Mhm.
Shredder's very imposing. He's not the butt of a
Yep.
joke. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously they crack jokes about him when it's the rooftop, but when they really get to the nitty gritty, he gets them all winded pretty quick. Like
Yeah.
he can definitely put them down. But yeah, I mean, solid, and I mean, yeah, just the balance and stuff, man. It was very well done for its time, and I think it's still what makes this like a Hallmark movie even 35 years later. So
Yep. Same man. Like for me, like and that sounds like really male, but a lot of the action scenes really hit for me. Like we mentioned earlier, like the fight in April's apartment that goes down to the not pawn shop, the antique shop, and obviously them escaping to the farm. The farm scene we've referenced, the campfire is really touching, and then obviously as you just referenced, the end scene is just really really well done until Casey, commits murder at the end. But
Oops.
oops.
That's why
But somehow he's back for the second one. He's all
well,
good.
that's why every time I watch the second one and it's just a shadow, I just wish that they would have shown something of his face, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
Because
they can't show Kevin Nash. I mean, come on.
that was listen, okay, looking back at that, I like as a kid, I'm like, oh, okay. But now I'm like so pissed of like, why couldn't we actually have Super Shredder doing some cool shit? You know?
Right.
You just have him for 2 seconds, knocking down a couple beams underneath the dock. For real, man. And then on top of that, that was probably the easiest money Big Sexy ever got in his life.
Right.
Don't forget
Well,
though,
except the finger poke of doom.
yeah, don't forget that he was also in the what was it, the longest yard and actually I think he was actually in the
And a
Punisher.
Punisher.
Yep, he was. He was the Russian in the Punisher. Yep.
Yep.
But anyway, so overall, guys, closing out, what do we give the movie as far as the ratings like scale, like 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever you guys want to do? Go with it.
We go
Five's
with
good.
stars. I mean, if I'm going back and obviously a childhood, I mean, growing up in the 90s, I'll probably give this a 5 out of 5. I mean, it still holds up, but it's still a little bit of corniness, but it's a still solid film to watch. So I'll probably give it like a 3.5 out of 5 if I had to name it out of 5 stars. I feel like again,
Yep.
a little bit campiness, some things they could have done better, but for a movie that coming out in the 90s, a live action, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I mean, still an awesome movie. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll try and dull my rose-colored sunglasses because I hadn't seen this in a while. So when I was rewatching, even if it was kind of like for some moments where it was like background noise because I had to clean while I was watching it. I think it's a solid, probably solid 3.5 stars. From my perspective, definitely nice to kind of go back and watch things and kind of pick up on some little subtleties and kind of been like, oh, this is actually well done. This is well done. Even something as small as when they were like there and then Danny turns around and they're gone, like in the apartment too. That's another funny thing that I liked. The casting, the voice acting was great, like the humor, and again, all that stuff works well. And from what we've seen before and then what we've seen after, 3.5 is pretty on par. So yeah.
I'm gonna give it 4 pizza slices out of 5.
There you go. Pizza slices. Good.
It's
Yeah, good one.
definitely nostalgia glasses. I'm not gonna deny it. It's corny, it's cheesy, but as we discussed earlier, because of the practical effects and then the suits, it's like watching the OG Star Wars. They're models, they look like models, but it's tangible, real things they're filming, and it makes all the difference in the world to seeing just straight up CG. So
Couldn't have said it better myself, sir. Absolutely agreed. Well, guys, you have it. Happy 35 years to TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first original film. Go check it out if you haven't, and if you are a fan, just comment down below what your favorite scenes or bits in the movie were. And guys, thanks so much for joining again. As always, I'm Jay. We have Ricardo again and Steve. And until next time, peeps. Cowabunga!
Cowabunga!
bunga.